Thanks, John Channel here. Get a shiny star next to your name and a highlight in the live streams or over at Subscribe Star. Check out the Odyssey and Rumble. So, itty bitty titty committee versus the Melker enjoyers. Yikes, my guy. Touch grass. Just yikes. You must be incel something. Put yourself inside a woman because everything in their minds is validated by their presence to women. So, first of all, we're talking about preferences. And that outrages the soy boys and cat ladies of the world because they can't stand it if they can't exert total control over other people. Oh no, there's people who have opinions different from mine. Oh well, I guess I'll just go about with my life then. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. Everything's a big deal. No, or it's not. I mean, if you think everything is a big deal on Twitter, like some kind of like nonsense pronoun issue, you're probably too much on social media. Have you considered perhaps turning off Twitter and going outside? It's funny because the people who tell you to touch grass, and they're calling Gary from Nerdrotic, that 50-year-old hippie dude, they're calling him alt right because he mentioned that this cover Guardians of the Galaxy. And you look at them, you look back and forth. You also this Gary guy, I'm somewhat familiar with. He does he talks about pop culture. He's what you're considering the far right now. That's an interesting spectrum because it were the people who were further to the right of him, like who are looking back at the event horizon, bending time and space, they're so much further to the right. Like, well, oh, they're like this extreme super duper Hugo Boss far right, the alternative right. Okay, I mean, you're just insane. The things you're saying are just crazy things. But the people who are telling you to go outside and touch grass, you look at them and you look at their Twitter history. It's like, so you've been on Twitter all day Saturday. Are you like in your backyard gardening while the Twitter is it voice to text? Because I suspect that you're inside in the dark while everyone else is outside on Twitter. Yeah, no, things are not big deals on Twitter. If you think it is, it's okay. Twitter needs a timeout button. I'm glad I get kicked off Twitter. I get on Twitter, get a few thousand followers, and then I get kicked off after like a month. So there's a bigger issue. It's kind of hard to articulate, probably because I'm dumb. That is something to do with the spectrum of beauty. Is it objective or subjective? I think it's objective. Something to do with enthalpy, entropy, order, and chaos. It's kind of like the body positivity movement that, oddly enough, doesn't have a whole lot of movement in it. Their argument: how do you defeat the SAWs? Six flights of stairs and narrow doorways. So their argument is that all bodies are beautiful, but it really should be reframed as, in their opinion, they find all bodies beautiful, which nobody believes for an instant. So here's the objective reason why lean hard bodies are beautiful and why excess, let's say adipose tissue ones are not. Because of sort of they're rewriting kids' books. Apparently they do this pretty often to make them more politically correct, and apparently fat now is a hot word for them. I don't know if you remember the Smurfs graphic novel. They had black Smurfs that were for some reason they were like painted black or something, and so they changed it. I don't know, they changed it to a different color to make it more politically correct in modern day. They do the kids' books all the time. They're like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but they're changing stuff like someone was grotesquely fat to someone who was just enormous. It's like that. You're just making kids soft. And then you read the change version, it doesn't have any of the spark or the spirit in it. It's sad that they do this kind of stuff, but it's like, well, that's, welcome to the brave new world. Anyway, so the objective reason why lean versus lard is different is because it's sort of the effort that's involved in attaining the lean body. Effort's not exactly the right word because it's discipline. It's the representation of an ordered mind that can simply refrain from the easily available excess calories. I'm not even talking about exercise, but sort of the passive side of the equation. Simply eating fewer calories will get you a pretty decent looking body. And then if you want like a healthy cardiovascular system, you got to add in going up some stairs or some hills, and then you'll have the total package. I'm not even talking about people spending, time squatting, for hours a day. It's like just simply cutting calories. It's like that's 99% of the equation. Because overeating is easy and undereating is something that requires a focused mind. It's why all things being equal, when you look at two examples, the same person, but one's got 10 pounds extra fat, you got a split second to make a judgment in your mind about them. And there's a lot of truth in judging a book by its cover. Overeating's not good. It's a sign of other issues within that person. And yeah, there's this whole cultural Marxist movement to make health at every size because they want you. They want you not at your best, because you're easily controlled that way. So think about yourself when you're 10 pounds over fat. You feel worse, not because you notice carrying 10 extra pounds too much, but I mean, there's some of that, and there's no need to carry that extra weight, but also because of the psychological headspace of why you overate to get those 10 pounds. And it's not always like your, massive crippling anxiety and depression. It's not always that bad. A lot of it's just kind of like this slippery road into chaos where you're just getting things that are like standard, your internal standards are slipping a little bit, So keep in mind, and no hate from me, I'm saying this as I just ate 2 cookies as I was doing this, but also in my defense, when I was younger and my generation was younger, we were almost all low body fat. A fat younger person just would not have made sense to us. Like, it would have caught people's attention. Like, why are you fat? Just close the refrigerator, stop eating, start walking. Fat shaming was a very positive, loving, and healthy thing to do. Society's turned upside down because we encourage obesity because we don't want to just simply tell people the truth anymore. Society is Weimar 30 when you've got 300-pound women on the cover of health magazines. Something is very clearly wrong with it. It's not just something as ridiculous with that. It's that the response to it isn't immediately the mainstream media and everyone just laughing their asses off at this, or, when the medical doctors say it's not healthy, so they just simply won't interview medical doctors. They interview like PhDs and feminist basket weaving type of stuff, the philosophy on the feelings of health, to say that obesity is fine, but then they waddle away from the actual doctors who study obesity and, unfortunately, its correlation to cancer and heart issues. Because, yes, those things are related. And so it's just things like quality of life with joint care and all that kind of stuff, like bad backs and bad knees, all that kind of stuff is added up when you're carrying 50 pounds extra. So the left is kind of terrified. Yeah, thanks for outlining the lack of breast reasons. We noticed that she's not Megalopolis. So the left is terrified of saying that different things are different, that humans are not fungible, that some qualities are better than others. And it seems to tie into effort and the concept of improvement, of holding off chaos, like the spectrum of chaos to order and going in the other direction. There's something about that. You know what it is? It's probably because they want you dependent on the state. That's why, because they're Bolsheviks. I guess that would make sense. Is the concept of improvement, that like even such a concept is possible to them, or that it has any merit to it. That if you're out of shape, overeating and playing video games, obeying the narrative, eating the soy slop, live in the pod, eat the bugs, watch the sports ball, listen and believe the government and the media. It seems like they want fat people dependent on a government media machine, and then as their health fails, dependent on a medical and pharmaceutical industry for the rest of their lives. So if you turn off the MSN, throw away the video games and the violent adult prurient interest films, and eat less, go outside and just start walking around the block, so every day you walk a little bit faster and further, and the fat just drops off. Or you start taking stairs, like at every opportunity you take the stairs, and your resting heart rate will drop. By all objective metrics, you are healthier. That's just the objective reality, and like everyone knows it's true, and thankfully you have plenty of data to back it up. But if you present them with that data, nowadays you know that the response would make many obese, terminally online people triggered, because they see you making these simple changes and they get mad at your actions. You've seen it on social media. It used to just be passive aggression. Then they started openly expressing anger at people who started taking care of themselves. They cloaked their emotional outbursts in the language of cultural Marxism, but that in itself is just an appeal to emotion. I mean, once you take everything they say, they say, make a statement, you break it down, you go, there's no facts here. This is all just an emotional based argument. It's like, no, the communist dialectic predicts it. And you're like, is there any empirical evidence to back any of this up? No, it's a theory. That's an appeal to emotion. They string a bunch of hot words together about the systemic patriarchy, existential praxis of the confluence of the dialectic, but at no point is their argument cogent, and it never leads to or supports their conclusion. It's nonsense. No, it's not nonsense because we're too silly minded to comprehend it. It's nonsense because none of it is backed up with objective facts. It's pure appeal to emotion, and it can be rebutted with the same. It's like, oh, well, my theory predicts something different. Well, our theory's in Wikipedia, it's written down. Our definition's written down. We can write our definition down too, friendo. It doesn't make it any more real that the dictionary suddenly changed their definitions on many things. Don't say anything in the comments over the past few years. If anything, if anything, that should lead you to a different conclusion about how you should not trust these sources anymore if they're willing to. Oh, hey, what that train derailment thing that just happened? Polyvinyl chloride. So EPA just changed their definition 3 days before the thing happened. Dealing with like the CDC or EPA or something, dealing with the tolerable levels in kids. It's like so a couple days before that happened, they changed the definition. Anyone going to focus on? Oh, it's just coincidence. All right. Anyway, it seems like a lot of that is going around. It's like didn't this book called 1984 and Animal Farm talk about that? It's like yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so having a tiny waist is desirable because it took discipline to get it. Yes, it's better than having a body covered in a layer of fat you don't need because you're not sledding with the Huskies through Alaska. Fair enough. If you're doing that, then you're probably going to need 20 pounds extra. Then you got to add in that these are comic book characters. They're larger than life, aspirational and inspirational characters. But the people who are doing this, like they fundamentally do not understand comics. I only say that because they don't read them. There's a picture of, I don't know, one of these idiots. Like they pose him with the comics and you're looking at them. It's like, just stop. We know you don't read this stuff. Then you have to add in, so these are characters portrayed by actors, right? And the thing is, it's okay to expect that the actors you're paying for with your ticket price, I mean, you're paying for it, I'm not paying for it, are in the best shape of their life. It's okay to ignore the lamentations of the soy boys and cat ladies. It's perfectly fine to just call them fat pussies who are fat angry. And they don't really have a counter argument to this because it's true. So they simply try to get you deplatformed. It's okay to be a big titty and tiny waist enjoyer. And the thing is, it's okay to have be the A cup contingent. That's fine as long as it comes along with a tiny waist, which it almost always does. Those are very lean, fitness type ballerina types, but they don't have this kind of beer gut that they photoshopped onto her. Like neither one of those images I showed for the actor is the real image. They're photoshopping both of them to sell a certain narrative. Thin bodies are more attractive than obese ones. Everybody knows this. There's a reason why so many angry left-wingers look the way they do, slovenly and out of shape. They've just kind of given up on health, and instead of simply eating less and walking, they're trying to move the window and bring everyone down to their level. And the thing is, deep down, they know this. All you have to do is stop eating so much, but that is a bridge too far for them, and they want to do away with the standards of beauty and health, as well as the sexual binary and all the other nonsense they're trying to push. But it doesn't work because they're the examples, these 160-pound chunky cat ladies and 200-pound soy boys. We look at them and nobody wants to be like them, sitting on Twitter all day, eating cookies, and trying to tone police everyone, including their fellow SJWs. It is a sad existence. The SJWs say that this isn't a real issue to care about and that we should touch grass, yikes my guy, bad tip. I'm trying to get her face in it because the face is also a little bit masculinized. They're commenting on somebody else commenting about an issue, so their whole argument doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the thing is, they know it's about more than a movie aesthetic, that there is something else going on. That's why there's so many of these kids, why they get so invested in spending their time in these arguments where, they go, it's why does anyone care? Look, I ratioed the original guy and talk about how little we care, how little you should care. Like, but you're here investing yourself into this argument when you know you just could have ignored it. You didn't ignore it for a reason because you know there are deeper machinations beneath the surface here. They can't allow other people to have opinions that go against what the mainstream media, the propaganda machine, is pushing. That's why they immediately deflect and ad hominem. They don't have a counter argument because how do you have a counter argument to somebody's opinion about the juxtaposition of the two characters? It's like, yes, there's clearly a difference. In the earlier movies, they were trying to sell push a different narrative, and in this movie, they're clearly they're doing something here. And so immediately you see how triggered they get by it. It's like, really, if it was nothing, you wouldn't even be involved in the argument. But there are people like the Nerdrotic and the Yellow Flash and the Critical Drinker who they stalk their Twitter accounts. and anything they do outrages them. And you realize, like, well, why are you like, why wouldn't you just block them and move on with your life? Because they can't do that because they have to be involved with it. Anyway, thanks to everyone over at Subscribe Star. You guys are the real heroes. Join the channel here if you want the star next to your name for $1 a month. And I will see you guys on Rumble and Odyssey.